I want your flesh, Laura. Listen to what I say. It is your flesh that I need, just as you needed your mother's. Come to me! Thank you, Laura. Now the transformation will be complete. But Laura, your body will not be wasted. Your flesh and blood will join with mine, and we will live forever as Dracula. Ah, Laura!
So that's the bad ending of D. If we take Richter up on his offer and walk towards him, Richter kills and eats Laura and becomes one with her, and thus completes the Dracula transformation. No telling what happens after that. Does Richter return to the real world as Dracula? What does he do? We don't find out any of that. And that's because Laura's story is over, and that's what this game was really about. It was about Laura, not Richter. So she's dead. So, game over. And we're rewarded in the bad ending with the sound of Richter's messy chewing, and we don't get any pictures of the design crew. So that's if you play through the game and decided not to choose the gun. One more ending to go, and that's when you run out of time. So that's what happens when you run out of time. Laura falls into her pocket watch. Right, that kind of comes out of nowhere, and if this is your first time playing through the game and you run out of time, which you probably will because you'll be caught at the wheel for a while, this one will catch you by surprise, and then after a few seconds, you realize that the game is over. You have to play it again. You have to do the wheel again, and you'll be very sad. So, this is the time limit upending. Again, I think the entire reason there was a time limit in the first place was just to make it possible for the player to not actually beat the game the first time. Because maybe they figured, you know, maybe it's not a great idea to have a game where the player is guaranteed to win it the first time through. Even if we are trying to make an interactive movie, maybe there needs to be something more than just one playthrough. Maybe. So that's the time limit ending. Only one thing to go now, and that's just to do a little summary, a little wrap-up of D, just in case you weren't following what was going on. Then after that, it'll be time to be very confused and to talk about our feelings in D2. So D comes to its conclusion by answering all questions about its story with, "It was Dracula's fault." Also, Laura's a cannibal, which is also Dracula's fault. A bit out of nowhere, but quite shocking at the time. At least it gives a suggestion of why the front door was locked if Richter wanted Laura to leave, because it was the Dracula part of his brain that created the house. But we can probably assume that it was the Richter part of the brain that created the puzzles to slow Laura down, like the number box and the wheel, in which case Richter got what he deserved in the end. So as Richter explained, he and Laura are descendants of Dracula, and every member of their family becomes possessed by him at some point in their lives. This has already happened to Laura, during which she killed and ate her mother. Richter was somehow able to stop Laura's Draculization and repress the memory of it by using his doctor technology. Look, I don't know. He did some kind of doctor science and Laura was all better. And the glowy bugs induced flashbacks of the repressed memory, negating the amnesia. I suppose the bugs were symbolic of the pendant her mother wore. An unknown amount of time passes from when Laura was Draculized, and Richter realizes that the same thing is happening to him. Always the curious sort, he decided, well, I saw this thing turn my daughter into a matricidal cannibal. Wouldn't it be neat to see what it'll do to me? So he doesn't use his doctor science on himself, and instead lets Dracula run wild, which ends up bad as you'd guess. In the final confrontation, Richter tells us that he needs to kill and eat Laura in order to make the transformation complete. Laura lets her flintlock pistol answer for her, even though she already fired its one shot earlier. Let's just say she found another mine bullet on the floor somewhere. Anyway, everyone lives happily ever after, except Richter, who is dead. And Laura, who just killed her father, and now knows that she cannibalized her mother. And the hostages in the hospital, who are already dead. So, no one lives happily ever after. I could bring up a plot hole in this story that, according to what Richter told us about the Dracula transformation, Laura would have had completed it by eating her mother, which means that Richter shouldn't have been able to turn her back. I could bring it up, but I won't, since Dee's story ends here and is not continued in any way in the sequel. No, the story of D2 is something completely different, eschewing the whole vampire idea and instead using John Carpenter's The Thing as a starting off point. And speaking of which, next time we'll start our exploration of the isolated, snow-covered, cutscene-heavy wilds of northern Canada as we plunge into D2.